did you become involved with Diamond Legion? I guess you're a founding member. And how did that all come about?
Yeah. So when I was coaching my last, probably I think 2 years at Arizona State, I had the actual good fortune to meet a gentleman, founder of the company named Sandy Ogg through, ironically, an Indiana University connection. When I was at Indiana, one of the former senior associate ADs, Tim Fitzpatrick, who was then had moved on and at that point was with the Coast Guard as their athletic director, and had come across the gentleman, Sandy Ogg, who I'd referenced. And when I was coaching, Tim had reached out to me and says, "Hey, I want you to meet this guy, really great guy, runs a travel ball organization up in New York, and just want you to meet him." So I jumped on a plane, flew out and spoke to their organization. But just in my short time of talking to Sandy, I was really impressed with what they were doing in the travel ball space. And I'm very passionate. I've always been very passionate about creating opportunities for kids who can't be a part of it. If you looked at our rosters over the time, we tried to have a diverse roster, and we made a really conscious effort to beat the bushes to find kids to play. And when I saw what Sandy was doing, which was essentially funding through scholarships travel baseball, which is expensive, and that's one of the things that I'm sure we'll dive into with the Diamond Allegiance. But the fact that he was taking kids that some of them were homeless and some of them that didn't know where their next meal was coming from, and provided opportunities for to not just advance in baseball, but advance in life using the vehicle of baseball, and ultimately sending some 50 plus kids, boys and girls, on to colleges through baseball and softball. I loved it. And so now you fast forward, and this goes to my life reset when my situation changed at Arizona State. Sometimes we have life resets that we choose to have and some that are kind of forced upon us. I had been serving on the board of the company while I was coaching the foundation for 2 years. And then I ultimately dove in full time. And for me, having been a coach, I was a head coach since I was 30. I put a lot of time in this. It was a nice time for a change for me. And I looked at it as my way of giving back to ultimately try to help the game of baseball bigger and more impactful than maybe the 35 guys in the locker room that I had coached over my entire career. So kind of a short version of how I got there, but just when you find people in this world that align with your value set and try to accomplish some of the things that you accomplished, it became a natural fit. So I've been doing that now since June, full time, and working hard and pulling in some of my friends. You remember in our time, the World Series in 2013, Oregon State, but Pat Casey's a part of our team. And I really got to know Pat, three-time national champion coach in our competitions. And so he had retired and brought him in as well. So having a lot of fun doing it, and really learning a lot, and kind of just getting started on this journey.
So you're partnering with these travel organizations to help them do what they do better? Well,
so yeah, it's interesting because we were always, as a coach, you're on the receiving end of kids coming up through the travel ball system. And I may be speaking to the choir here, but what was big for us was Legion baseball. Back, and I played for Remington Post 280 in the state, but playing it, grew up in Babe Ruth, and then in Legion ball, which is kind of now defunct a little bit. It's all about travel ball. I think we have a stat that there's like 97% of kids who play college baseball play or get there through travel baseball. So really what the Diamond Allegiance is what we want to focus on is a development piece, because what we would see at college, and this is not a knock because everybody was kind of saying it, is there's this heavy emphasis on velocity now and spin rate and all these things. And as a college coach, you're like, okay, those are all fine and dandy, but can you help me win? Can you help us win baseball games and knowing how to play? So at the same time of the stuff that I had just described to you earlier, I developed some relationships with friends in the Major League Players Association who are also saying, hey, we've got an issue with how the game is being taught, and we're ultimately seeing that filter up to the major league level. And gee, wouldn't it be nice if we could really take all of this years, when we were talking earlier before the show here about Davey Concepcion, and but you got this army of former players out there, professional players, former big league players, that want to give back to the game as well. So everyone's kind of saying the same thing. And I don't want to say the system was broken, because it's not. Some people in travel ball business do an unbelievable job, but the industry itself has become more of a showcase exposure industry and not as much development. So what we're trying to do and are going to do with the Diamond Allegiance is offer up and create a 12-month development system that is currently not on the market or in existence at this point. Eric Bakich, colleague or former colleague and competitive colleague at University of Michigan, is designing, and all of our tech. So we're going to be offering a development platform, but think kind of Amazon Prime. There will be a membership, but then we're also going to give recruiting education. Anything you can imagine of the umpteen years of experience of the Pat Casey's of the world. You know, Kevin O'Sullivan, the head coach at Florida, is a part of our team, but just giving back and sharing the knowledge that we've had in this game to help and guide parents and players through this recruiting process. Because the other thing that I'm really passionate about is there's this myth, and I say myth because I started my coaching level at the lowest level. I mean, I started at Miami University of Middletown, which I guarantee none of you have heard of it on this call. And if you do, then I'll give you a giant high five. But there's this myth out there that if you don't play Power 5 baseball, it's in somehow way, shape, or form, you have failed. And I've always hated that, because anytime I would talk to groups and families and kids, I would say every one of you can play beyond high school. There's a place for you to do that. You just have to find the right fit. So one of the things that we're going to be doing with the Diamond Allegiance is really giving families and kids true direction, so that they can reach their aspiration. And sometimes they don't want to hear that, but through our development platform, there's going to be something that, I don't know how familiar you are with, in professional baseball, they call it the OFP number. So where they rate your score, and that kind of is a predictive mechanism of how far you'll travel in pro ball. We have in our thing, it's the curve score, which is taking the brain data, the ball data, and the body data, and it will create a predictive mechanism. So we want to provide value, because I sit back and I watch the amount of money families spend on getting their kid a college scholarship, a $5,000 college scholarship, when they're spending $20,000 a year to get there. So we want to provide direction of, okay, it's okay to spend that money, but let's spend it wisely, and maybe not, because I'll use an example. If we did a prospect camp at Arizona State, I'd have 100 kids there, when realistically, we maybe were going to recruit one of those. And it always struck me as, these kids and families are paying this money to come when they have no chance of playing there. They should be somewhere else, or investing that money somewhere else if they want to play beyond high school. So it's a little bit of that, but at the coaches level, we want to have a certification. We want to help coaches design practice plans, all of those things, but using that IP that we built up over the years. And for the owners of the clubs themselves, which there are a lot of tremendous owners across the country, is just help facilitate what they're doing in terms of running better businesses. Because back to the San Diego gentleman that I referenced, and I apologize, I'm going, but I'm trying to give you a snapshot of this. There's a whole back office piece. I mean, this gentleman has placed he's a CEO developer across the world, Fortune 500 companies. So we're also helping these organizations run better businesses and be more efficient in those practices, with the idea and the hope that if they recoup and their expenses are down and they make money, that they'll reinvest that money into creating and providing opportunities for kids who can't afford to play. And that's the other pillar of our business, is we have a national foundation that families can apply for, to help offset and in some cases totally fund the travel ball experience. So in short, we're trying to create wins. And I don't even want to say try, because we are doing it. We're going to continue to do it, but create wins for the players, the parents, the coaches, and the organizational owners themselves. And it's a daunting task, and it's been 3 years in the making, but I can honestly sit here tonight as we're talking and saying, I'm having a blast doing it. So I really enjoy it.
So you kind of rolled this out for public consumption at the ABCA in Chicago, January?
Yeah. It's interesting about that, because we're sitting around, and part of our team, there's a gentleman, Matt Gerber, and he was actually a very successful travel ball owner himself down in Florida. So I really learned a lot about the industry, but we were talking about things that we think everybody wants, but Chicago was kind of the first opportunity to get, because of COVID, the first opportunity to actually get with the industry, if you will, and just get the feedback. And I will say this: there's not one person from the lowest level, and I mean low in terms of age, baseball, to the highest of the major league level, that when they hear the concept and what we're doing and what we're going to accomplish and how we've organized it and set it up, that have said, boy, that's a terrible idea. They love it. And the interesting part in working with some of the professional organizations, and I'm talking MLB and Major League Baseball, everyone has said, a lot of people have tried this. Like, what makes you guys think you're gonna succeed? And my answer is simple. It's like, because of the people we have involved. And I joke, because I said our board, the board that I mentioned, which is me, Pat Casey, Kevin O'Sullivan, and Eric Bakich at Michigan, I said, collectively, we have 4 national championships between all of us. But Pat and Sully have the 4, So, but we've got a really, really good group of people that are passionate about making this game better. And I think when you do that, and you have winning people, you have a great idea, and you have people that are motivated to do right and do well by the game, it will not fail. So that's, so we're excited to launch, and I thank you for bringing that up, but really excited to launch that in January.
So you're going to take your expertise and share it with all those people. I mean, you can't be at all the facilities. Maybe you can do some virtual things, maybe whether that's you or that's somebody else on your team that shows them how to do whatever. Bring the bat,
it's a member,
throw the ball, weight training, whatever they're doing.
It's almost like I don't want to say unionizing, but it's like using the power of scale. So using the total membership to negotiate, whether it be better uniform deals, tournament deals, so that we can just drive the cost down so that people can afford to participate in this game that we all love. And so we just don't want, we don't want lack of participation, or we don't want lack of development to be because people can't afford it. So we think, and we know, and we're already seeing it, when we can bring strength in numbers, it can move the needle a little bit for the people that need it moved, because you guys have probably witnessed it, and I'm not familiar with all the people you've had on the show, but the cost of this game, and particularly the travel ball, keeps going up, and my personal opinion is it's just playing more tournaments. There's not a lot on the development piece. So we want to help facilitate that and be a resource for all the wonderful coaches and families out there that are participating.
I've noticed that there are some organizations, and whether this is by design or this is just the way it works out, is that they play a lot of tournaments. They get together, say Wednesday or Thursday, they play their tournament. Some of them want to develop, and they have facilities, and they do that. So there's a mix. I'm sure that's the way it is around the country. But if they don't develop, they got to be getting developed in some way. They can't just show up and play all the time.
And what we would hear, and when I started talking to families about this, is that, and this is the reality of it, because being on the coaching side, that top 5% of athletes that are playing the baseball that are ultimately going to be Division I or high level Division I, truthfully, they would be fine with or without us, with or without the Diamond Allegiance. But there's this 85 to 90% of these other families that are sitting around going, what about us? Like, we want our kids to have access to great coaching, to great development, to opportunities, to exposure, all of those things. And so the more I talked to families around it, the more I heard that common theme. So I'm really passionate about not just helping the top 5%. Like, I think every family should deserve the opportunity to learn how the recruiting process works, or what can I do to help advance my child, and to also sit as a college coach with 30 some years in the game to say, you know what, it's okay to not play Division I. You can have a great time playing Division II. You can have a great time playing junior varsity, whatever, or junior college, whatever the case may be, because I tell people, and I would say this in recruiting, I got as much joy and as much agony out of my wins and losses at Miami University of Middletown, which wasn't even a junior college or NAIA, as I did at Indiana, Miami, Arizona State. And that is the truth. And so I think if we can reset the mindset and say, it's okay, just maximize your potential and have fun doing it. And that's what we're setting out to do.
One thing that really stands out that I'm real impressed with is the fact that if there's not a travel ball team, is what you're involved with still going to give some of those kids an opportunity to play this great game.
You know, the interesting piece, and this kind of opened our eyes when we were in Chicago, we were so laser focused on the travel ball space. And as I said, Eric Backage designing what is the most awesome development, I mean, truly targeted individual specific development program that nobody else is doing. We had a bunch of high school kids, or I'm sorry, high school coaches come up to us and say, look, we're from an area that doesn't have travel ball, but we would really like to have access to that development piece. So we're going to, you know, we can either say, no, we're not going to allow that, but that's kind of going against the mission of what we're trying to do, which is make the game better. So we'll have the ability for folks to, even at the high school level with non-travel ball, to have a version of what we're doing, in addition to facilities, which I thought we weren't even thinking about that. But that the baseball community said, we like the development piece. And back to the whole concept of it, why I like this, there's a little bit of something for everybody. Some folks are really, really intrigued about the development stuff. Some folks are really intrigued about, hey man, I want to educate my coaches and things like that. So, and that's one of the main things we wanted to do, was to have the access. And you don't have to be from a big school. You don't have to have a lot of money, but to have the equal access to, you know, quality instruction, quality content, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, so I'm really proud about that, because you're right. The path to get beyond is through, you know, like it or not, it's through this particular channel of travel baseball. And but I'm really excited to see how this thing really plays out and the impact that we're going to be able to make, because what we've tried, it's also, we're selective too, because we want to partner and work with people who have like values. In other words, they put development at the forefront, and they care about kids, and they want to make this game better by creating opportunities for all.
You know, some people, they just want to cast a wide net. They want to get the message out there everywhere. Some people are, you know what, we're going to talk to these people behind closed doors. You know, so what is your goal for, you know, exposure?
That's a great question. I mean, we strategically set this up with a national footprint, I should say a regional footprint across the nation, because we want to scale appropriately, and meaning, you know, it is a business. I mean, there's a business component to this, because, and we say that, like, we're not going to apologize for being a business, because, you know, well, our motto internally is do well by doing good. So we want to be able to take the do well part and do good things in the game. So we're pretty selective in this too. Like, we don't want to kill a great aspiration or a great idea because we get greedy and try to grow too big. Like, we want to service our membership and service it well, and help, and as I said earlier, create wins for the family, the coaches, and whatever. So the conversations are happening. I mean, we're talking to, you know, 5 to 10 clubs a week. And we're also saying, hey, I know you're vetting us and we're coming to you with an idea, but we're also vetting you, because we want to, life's too short to work with people you don't like or want. So we're trying to assess whether they have the same value set and emphasis on development and helping kids. And that is our starting point. And if we can get that piece, then we move on to the next level. But I will tell you, everyone we've talked to, they're like, tell us how to sign up. Like, we're in. And that's been really exciting, because we've been, like I said, this has been 3 years in the making. This stuff's been working on for 3 years. And to actually get out there now and start talking to people to see has been really, really fun to see the reaction of this. So, but you know, we want to spread the word, but it's not going to be for everybody.
I think it's real exciting too. You being all the experience you've had, being a coach, especially a college coach at a couple major universities. The thing about this game is you get so many life lessons. I mean, 3 times out of 10, you go to the plate, it's a failure. You know what I'm saying? So,
oh, I know what you're saying. Yes, I do know what you're saying.
But that's what I got out of baseball, is just the fact that, you know, it's so many life lessons. And I think it's real exciting, Tracy, that you're giving back. I think you're probably the perfect person for the job you're doing. And there's nothing like doing something that you don't want to call work. It's just
right.